What's up, everyone? I'm James Young with JamesYoungPhotography.com, and I'm bringing you episode number 22 of Teach Me How to Lightroom. And today, we're talking bokeh. Don't forget, there's a link in the description to the raw file to this exact image here so you can follow along as you want. If you enjoy these videos, I would appreciate it if you leave a thumbs up. And if this is your first video, it would be awesome if you subscribed. So let's get right into this thing. So as you can see here, I'm basically finished with this edit. I gave it some warm tones. I muted the cold tones quite a bit. And there's really just one thing left that I wanted to do to really make this image pop. And I want to increase the way the bokeh looks, meaning I want to get the background even blurrier. And there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you implement this technique. This is not an excuse to not get bokeh out of your camera. You can see here my settings. I shot this at 1.8 and you can already see that I do have quite a bit of background blur going on. This technique is only meant to enhance the bokeh that you were already able to achieve. So check this out. The way that I go about doing this is I take a graduated filter. You can press M on your keyboard. Then the label here for effect, you can double click this and it's gonna zero out all the sliders here. Then towards the bottom third of this area, you see sharpness. And you just click and drag that all the way to the left, minus 100. Alternatively, you can click the drop down list here and actually Lightroom gives it to you. You can press sharpness and bam, minus 100 sharpness right out of the gate. Perfect. So from there, I'm gonna hold shift on my keyboard and then click and drag from the top. And the reason why I hold shift is to make sure I have a straight line. You can see if I don't hold shift, the line gets cockeyed and crazy. I just want to keep it straight for sake of demonstration. And I'm gonna draw in my gradiated filter here. Now watch. When you hover over the node, it shows the mask of the area that's affected by the filter that you just put on top. So you can see it's starting to spill over a little bit onto our subject. That's okay. What we'll do here is on mask, go over to brush, click erase, and then you can literally erase that information right off your subject. The effect might seem subtle, and that's actually the point. Again, this is not to render bokeh that didn't exist. Again, this is to enhance it. So watch, let's take it off though, and then turn it back on. You can see it did make an effect. Now we can actually take this a step further so that the effect is more than just marginal. Check this out. If we hover over the node again and I right click, you can actually duplicate this exact graduated filter. And bam, the effect effectively gets twice as strong. All right, now check this out. Now let's turn this off and it's gonna turn off both. And then we'll turn it back on. You can see it's really starting to take effect here. And so we're gonna do it again, right click, duplicate, another one. And it just continues to get blurrier and blurrier. Duplicate, another one. Now let's check it out. Turn it off, turn it back on. And now you can see it's really starting to shape up the way this background blur looks. And of course you can do this to your heart's content. You know, obviously, you don't want to go overboard and do like 16 layers of sharpness reduction and have hard lines where the sharpness ends and where it doesn't. You obviously want this to be as natural looking as possible because you're trying to enhance your imagery. You're not trying to destroy it. So the last thing that I would do with this image, and this is going to vary just depending on what your image looks like and where your depth of field plane is. But with this image specifically, I'm actually gonna do it from the bottom because my depth of plane field here is right here where my subject is. So I'm gonna do one from the bottom because I wanna match the way the depth of field looks. So here we go. So again, this is gonna be really subtle and I just wanna make sure that I brush all this information off the subject very gently, very soft brush here. And then duplicate. Now let's check this out. I'm gonna press H on my keyboard to remove the nodes from visibility. And then turn it off and turn it back on. And you can see the subject just pops so much more. Now, one thing you really want to be careful of is brushing in sharpness, because again, we want this to be very gradual, very natural looking. So I already opened up my adjustment brush. You can press K on your keyboard. One thing you really want to stay away from is doing something like this. Brushing in this blur around your subject, unless you really take a lot of time to do this, because it's going to look absolutely terrible. It's going to look like somebody took a kit lens, shot at 18 millimeters 3.5 or 55 millimeters 5.6, and took it into Photoshop for the first time and added a bunch of fake blur to their images. Just no, this is not how depth of field works. The only person you're fooling is yourself. Just don't do that. So I'll remove that because it just looks absolutely terrible. I'm going to click reset to remove all of those nodes. You can see there that's a much more natural looking bokeh because it actually was generated with the camera. And then we'll go back to the graduated filter, turn that off, turn it back on. You can see it just looks so much better. Well, there you have it. There is how you enhance the look of your bokeh. Remember, this technique is really easy to overdo it, so just be careful. And if you learned something today, go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video. And if you're new here, it would be so cool if you subscribed. Well, I'm James Young with James Young Photography, and this is Teach Me How to Lightroom.